Hello, everyone, and welcome to our next interview. I'm excited today to interview Todd Sinclair. We're going to be talking about Todd's journey from being
Hi.
a farmer to being an author. And I'm really excited about talking about this because for many of us, during the pandemic, it was a time of like, what do I do? What do I do next?
Mm,
It was a lot
yeah.
of us kind of asking questions and just feeling very uncertain. And it's so wonderful to meet an individual like Todd who took that uncertainty and turned it into an opportunity, took that uncertainty and really kind of went forward to create not just one book, not, two books. Actually, Todd, how many books did you write?
There's three. There's a trilogy in the
There's a trilogy.
end.
So I say that and share that because for many of you out there that are thinking about your next move, whether you're still, being impacted by the pandemic and everything that's going on, or whether you're just thinking about how to grow my business, how to do things differently, or you're at a crossroads. I know for many of us as vegans, we often get to a place where we try to figure out how we can do more, how we can give back. What I'm hoping today's interview is for you is not only inspiration, but insight into all of our ability to chart our own path and chart a path that we're passionate about, we're proud of, and a path that really kind of feeds our soul. Sorry, Todd,
Mhm.
if I'm putting too much on your shoulders today.
No. Oh,
But I really think this is going to be an amazing interview, and I'm so excited to
thank
have
you.
you today as
Oh,
our guest. So, welcome, Todd.
thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here. I've loved your podcast. It's inspired me. So it's just an honor to be here, Stephanie.
Thank
Um,
you. So, why don't we give people a little bit of background? Like, we have the story of you being a farmer and becoming an author. Let's rewind and go back to your farmer days and maybe give people a little bit of a backdrop before you wrote your first book, or even I should probably say published your first book. What
mhm.
was life like? And what was that potential transition or that catalyst that helped you get on this new path?
Yes, well, I mean, I grew up in an island off the coast of Canada, Prince Edward Island, in a dairy farm. And to me, I was just immersed in that. And it's funny, writing the books during the lockdowns is when it all started coming back to me. Some of those sounds and some of the things that I'd blocked out.
Mhm.
So I just lived in this normalized kind of environment where animal agriculture, it was the way of the world. So even though I found some of it distressing, I very much accepted it when I was younger. It was my community, it was my family business. And I left to go out into the world because I knew I needed to the world was a big place and I was on this island and I needed to get out there. So I found veganism later. That was through my travels and working on the road and leading these big tours around and just learning from all these different cultures and specifically the Buddhist monasteries I used to visit and the friendships I developed there. They really inspired me and taught me the spiritual side of not having that kind of dead energy in you and ingesting it and being part of the system and really made me think of it. So that my travels really inspired me. And like you say, I was really only writing one book when this all started. And I guess I was lucky. I was at the lockdowns really gave me the space. There was no distractions. I was alone in this kind of echo chamber, and it was only going to be one vegan travel guide. And I was going to take all my passions, my two kind of twin passions for veganism, and all that involves, vegan values and travel, and bring them together. And then when I started doing that during the lockdowns, and I realized I needed a more solid foundation for this, for my publishing company and for the brand, and I wanted to kind of do this. I wanted to research and really see. I thought COVID's changing the whole game. We're looking at the world through a new lens. And I realized that vegan values and what the vegan lifestyle stands for, all those things were kind of highlighted and emphasized during COVID, and that really made me kind of go, okay, I want to do this deep dive into why veganism matters, especially and so urgently. All these issues been brought to the fore during COVID, around the environment, around our immunity and our health, and all the highlighted, the atrocities of the animal industry and how all that came out during COVID as well. The slaughterhouses, the meatpacking industry, and just what it's like to work in those environments. COVID really highlighted that. So it enabled me to kind of focus on this. And it really was a pivot. I mean, this is the perfect name of the podcast, because I had to really kind of, during those lockdowns, I realized my travel work and business was not going to come back in a hurry. I had to kind of quickly gather myself and focus, because I had, done, I run these tours in Southeast Asia and various places in the world, Eastern Europe in the summer, Southeast Asia during the winters, for about 11, 12 years. And it was very much, you become what you do. And even though I had a lot of freedom and I could create these incredible tours and kind of veganize things along the way as well, the things I used to very much go around the world trying to kind of show different businesses how they could do this. And that was really wonderful. But I realized quite quickly that, what I specialized in, these multinational tours, going through not just one country, but I would do 5 countries in a month and take people through them and over land borders. With COVID, this wasn't coming back. I realized, and still in most of the countries I used to visit in Southeast Asia, still have tight restrictions. It's still hard to move around. I had to think, okay, how can I almost reinvent myself? And that's quite a scary thing. That was quite a scary thing. I was alone looking out into the world, in chaos, really, during, so much uncertainties. And my business, my work that I've been doing, I realized wasn't going to come back anytime soon. So I had to kind of gather myself and think about it. And I had to go back and learn how to do, I wanted to learn the publishing business. I did several courses. I kind of went, let's build something new. So
I see.
So COVID allowed that.
Now, when I think about like you said, the pivot, the transition, it was not just being an author, it was also being a publisher. I just want to make sure that our listeners are hearing that piece, because, for a lot of us, we know we have a story in us. We have something to share, but sometimes the publishing industry is hard to navigate. So therefore, we almost feel like the idea we have gets clamped down again because we don't have the outlet. So walk me through your vision around understanding that not only did you want to be an author, but you wanted to enable that through a publishing house.
Well, yes, absolutely. I really wanted to, I thought about it and I thought, let's go out there and find the best courses. So I researched different publishing courses about audiobooks and how to narrate them, but also, the publishing business generally. So I basically set up my own publishing business, Intrepid Fox Publishing Limited. And I really wanted to think, okay, I want to publish my books, but I also want to be able to publish other people's books, especially vegan authors, people who, really feel they have something to say and something to add. So that's what I did. And I set up a limited company here, and I got an accountant, and I really went about it quite seriously and learned all the ropes about how to build a book, really, how to outsource different professionals, because I'm a perfectionist and that was hard, but I realized I can't do it all. I'm a writer, but I'm also the publisher. So I'm spinning a lot of plates.
Yes.
And to do that, you have to outsource and you have to build a team. And that was really the big thing. The big learning curve for me was, finding people who understood my kind of values and mission and were on board with that. So really developing a team and bringing people together with that shared vision. That was really the big thing, learning how to set up the company, get the right people. And then I could really, that was almost the first lockdown 2 years ago. And then during the second ones, that's when I really, did the outlines, researched the books. And like I say, it was originally one book, and then suddenly one led into another, and I realized the brand needed more.
Do you have any thoughts on, I'm going to jump into the piece about building a team, because for a lot of people, and especially our audience who are creating businesses, have businesses, sometimes when they think about building a team, they think they're hiring full time. But often I teach people that when you're building a team, sometimes you need a support team for a project. You don't
Yes.
necessarily
Yeah.
need someone full time. So I don't know if you have any insights or any recommendations on how you built your team either around your book
Mm.
or around the publishing without thinking that you had to go full time. You could really
Hmm.
focus in and get the right people for the right roles, as opposed to try to hire like one person that could wear 20 hats as well and
Yes.
get things done. Now, I don't know if you have any insights or anything you'd like to recommend to our
Yes,
audience.
that's been quite a journey actually, because like I say, I wanted to, in some ways, my nature is to be a perfectionist and to control every little bit of it. But I realized that that was counterproductive, because as a publisher, there's just so many things going on. So I realized there's certain things that I have to outsource, and I went to places like Upwork and Reedsy at first, and I just put in, vegan book series, and looking for inspired, and I had to be very specific. I think that's the thing. If you go out there, even I was looking for an editor, and a really good editor, but I wanted an editor to understand the brand. And I did interview people. I would get a short list, and I'd put it on a job post, and I was very specific that I wanted people on board with this, with my vision, and explain the concept. And then I would do the short list to do the interviews. And I ended up picking an editor who wasn't vegan, and I was really looking for a vegan, but he was so inspired by the project. And the
Mhm.
project, and what had happened in the end, we worked through the 3 books, and he was just incredible. He ended up becoming a vegan through the
Isn't
process,
that
and that
amazing when that
that was
happens?
that was even better. No, I loved that. The fact that I knew that he was so intrigued when I explained the project and about how I'm bringing to this research about the corruption of the animal industry and subsidies, and he was just like, "Wow, I didn't know any of this." So he was excited about getting more information, and he became part of that project and very much embraced it. So that was a really lucky find. But then I also had a few times I learned so much where I had people who maybe who couldn't quite get on board, and I had to kind of let them go. And for the first time in my life, I was, basically firing people.
Yeah.
It happened
Which
only
is a
once,
hard
but
thing
it was a
emotionally sometimes.
really hard thing to do. And I hate conflict, and I avoid that. So as this publisher, and I realized this is something I have to do. This is the other side of it. But then I also learned from that experience that, okay, that person, what can I learn from that? And I realized I hadn't quite articulated and explained this fully, my expectations. And that's where it got, that's, I think, where it went wrong. And then the next time, before I even started an interview thing, I started talking, getting excited about the project. And if they responded and could take it on board and understand the project, and get involved instantly, and get excited, that I knew they were at least somebody who I could work with.
Right.
So it was a really long-winded thing. And still, and like you say, I didn't take anybody on. I took specific jobs. I had an editor. At one stage, I had an editor, I had a copywriter, I had a recipe creator with me, and I had I had all these people that I was trying
Mhm.
to motivate and keep on board. So I'd be doing Zoom calls with them and talking about a chapter or a concept, and making sure they were fully involved in the project. And that was very much something I wanted them to feel. They were part of this whole thing and part of this. And I thank them in the book, and I credit them, and they are very much, I couldn't have done it without them. It was
Yeah.
very much teamwork.
It's amazing, yeah, building
Yeah,
those teams to help us
it
get
is.
things done, and also, even having those temporary projects and those temporary kind of work still creates these amazing bonds.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah.
often I even find people that maybe I worked with 5 years ago on just a short
Mm,
project, that person may come back in my life, or our paths will cross again, or I get to recommend them for something else.
absolutely. Yeah.
So it's
I,
just amazing these relationships we can build, and they can all of us kind of helping each other when
I
we have the
agree.
time to
Yeah.
help each other. So I think it's just amazing. But I have to ask, Rebel Vegan, why the name? Why that is the umbrella of your brand? Now, obviously, I've read in the book some of that perspective, but I want to make sure my audience knows, because
Yeah.
I always think there's something special about a name, and I love, love, love the idea of the Rebel Vegan. So maybe give people a little bit of background on picking that brand and what it means to you.
Well, I always loved the whole idea of being rebellious, and that was very much part of just who I am. I wanted to go out in the world, and I wanted to rethink things, and not just. I think that's the important thing. So much, we grow up, and when I think about my upbringing, and how much I went from one end of the spectrum to the other. I had to rebel against that. I had to rethink things. So I see rebel as a positive thing, that you aren't just taking things as they are, because we do grow up in this, this belief system that eating meat is natural and normal. And I very much grew up with that. I had to rethink that. I had to challenge that, in a way, rebel against it and look at other ways of doing it, and not just follow, my my heritage, really, and the way things were. So I really much want to inspire everybody else to kind of come on board and question all these things and be part of it. So it's almost like this idea of being rebellious and rethinking things and changing the world and making it a better place. That was the whole kind of focus of it. And even my team, like you said earlier, I wanted them to kind of have that spirit of rethinking things and being rebellious. And it became easier, actually, because after I joined a vegan business tribe here in the UK. I don't know if they're wonderful, David and Lisa.
They are amazing.
That was a turning point for me, because I've been recruiting people on Upwork, like I said, in Reedsy. And then I could go into their networking groups, and it would be like-minded people who we share similar values. And that was really incredible. And then I was getting my copywriter from there, who was replacing the one I had to fire. And I was going, wow, we have a common bond. And they were wonderful for research as well, and for giving me feedback. So that was a real turning point, as well as finding my tribe in a way. And and they could very much feedback and give me advice. And it became just really the momentum. It kicked off then. It was wonderful.
Oh, that is so good. And yeah, I think it's so important to find your tribe. It's so important to really get that camaraderie when you're building a business, and even when you have a business, because,
absolutely,
it's nice to be around people who understand the lingo, the things that you're going through. And it just can kind of lift you up as you move forward. And I think for all of us out there, no matter what stage you're in, whether you're on a vegan journey or whether you're on a vegan business journey, having a community around you support you can really make a difference in, you achieving that next goal or that next kind of process or thing that you're going for. Now, I do have a question about the books, and maybe I shouldn't even call it a question about the books, but one thing is, I'm a very structure person. I'm a very, I love seeing things that have a nice flow to it. And one thing I absolutely loved about the travel guide is the way you structured each of the kind of locations, not only giving background about them, but I'm just going to peek down here, where you talk about why it's on the tour, eating in a certain area, extra vegan tips, what not to miss. And then even the food cards, where it'll actually explain in that specific language how a person can say they're vegan, what are their vegan options and so forth. How did you kind of come up with this? How did you kind of come up with that process? The reason I bring that up is because for anyone who's maybe interested in picking up one of the books, I just want them to get a sense of just how amazing, how easy of a read and how easy to digest this information, but also how easy it is to use. Because I think sometimes when you read a book, you're like, oh, that was great. And then you set it down. Where I feel like this book, especially with the QR codes in the bottom, I'm just picking a random location. I'm going to show everybody who's watching, everyone. But I love these because it becomes so practical of a book that I can use. So maybe walk us through why you came up with that structure. Walk us through maybe anything I missed about, how this has worked and how this has really helped people use this book for travel.
Yes, well, definitely. The vegan book was the original book that I've been writing this on long days, traveling up the Mekong when I had lots of time. But then when COVID hit, I thought, okay, now this changes things. People are a bit more anxious. They need maybe a bit more support and a bit more inspiration. And that's what I wanted the book to be, is this inspirational starting point. No matter where you are in the journey, almost, on the kind of plant-based journey, even if you're just anxious about it, you want to eat less meat or whatever. And so I wanted it to be the full picture, because to me, I love the history of veganism and animal rights and different countries and different time. And when I do my tours, I talk about the history of each country. So I wanted to bring that in and give a context, but also just where veganism has had hotspots around the world throughout time. So I start the book with this broad sweep of veganism around the world. and all these places around the world that's had vegan history or an animal rights kind of angle on things. And I wanted people to kind of think about, okay, let's think of this world and how it's, and veganism isn't just a flash in the pan, it's always been there. And that hopefully is an inspiration as well. And I did that kind of deep dive into the history of all these different countries' veganism. And I very much wanted post-COVID to think, okay, well, if we are a little more nervous about this, what are the precautions? What is the tourism of the future as well? So coming from the past and the history, let's sweep right up and where are we going forward? I think COVID is making us think about traveling more sustainably and more compassionately. So how can we do that? And that's really where I wanted the book to be inspirational, that to give people confidence to go out there, but also ways to do that, where they can leave a better footprint, where they can connect with local communities and find their tribe, their vegan tribe, you know, and even though that can be easier today with certain apps and things, this has everything right there. And those language cards, like you say, I used to write those out, Stephanie. Each country, I would give them out to my passengers because they would be going out saying, how do I ask for this and how do I ask for that? So in each of the different Asian languages and the script, and say the Thai script, I would have, you know, I do not eat any animal products. This includes honey, cheese. Mm-hmm. And I would have that for everybody to kind of put in their wallet. So I just took my language cards really and did them for each different country or city that I recommend as being on my kind of rebel vegan bucket list, you know, the places to go in the world. So I just wanted it to be, and then also bumps in the road, you know, there's so many times, and that's with everything, I suppose, there's bumps in the road. How do you keep going? How do you, you know, I wanted to share my kind of, my knowledge and my passion for that. So the travel guide was this first book I wrote. And then I ended up publishing it last because the other books, I wanted to have a foundation, this deep dive of why veganism matters and a nutrition guide to kind of give the brand foundation. So even though the vegan travel guide, Rebel Vegan Travel Guide was my first book that I started writing, I ended up publishing the other two first because they just came out of me during lockdowns. I couldn't stop. So
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So let's just make sure anybody who's listening today, anyone who's watching, or even if you're looking at this as a replay, if they want to get access to the books, where should they go? Where are they available? Should they go to your website? You know, maybe we can give them your social media because I just want to make sure that people connect with you and buy the book and support you as well. So what's the best way for people to access the books?
Well, I love connecting with people, and the feedback, I've really sought that out. And that's one thing I really think has been game changing for me is that I've asked people, I said, I'm not precious. Please let me know. Is there something that you think it's missing in that? Is there something that can improve this book? I'm going to revise them and, you know, put out I want this feedback. So please do get in touch. And on my socials, and I respond to everything, it's Rebel Vegan Life on Instagram and Facebook. And I even have a TikTok. I haven't been that active on it. I'm trying to do more videos and learn that whole thing. I'm not a great dancer, but I'm trying. So, and then also my website, which is just simply rebelveganlife.com. And that can direct you. All my books are all on, obviously Amazon's the world's biggest bookseller, but you can get them on, digital form. You can get them on hardback, softback, and I'm doing the audiobooks as well, which is been really wonderful to do, and just to be able to talk the books, you know, and hear them. Mm-hmm. So my social media is all Rebel Vegan Life, and please, drop any feedback. It's really gratefully received and helpful.
And it's nice to hear that you're going to republish the books, because that's my thing when I think about a travel guide. I'm like, oh, so much can change in so many countries. Yes. So it's nice that you're going to be updating it. And also, I love the idea with the QR codes, because it does allow you to make some changes and everything afterwards. Dr. Breeze Harper actually just said that she can see them on Kindle now. So it's great. Thanks so much for taking a look at that. So that is beautiful. So as we wrap up today, as we wrap up our session, what are your maybe inspirations? What are your recommendations? Because for many of us, we always find ourselves at a crossroad in our lives. Sometimes that crossroads is just because of external factors. Sometimes things are going on internal. Sometimes things are just going on in our little environment, even if it's just in our little household. And we can get stuck at times. We can lose our way at times, or at times, and maybe I'm going to take a little piece from your Rebel Vegan, is that we need to look at the world a little bit differently. So, do you have any recommendations for anyone that maybe needs a little bit of
Mm.
inspiration today as they're moving forward or moving through something a little bit challenging and a little bit difficult?
Well, definitely. I mean, like I say, when I was creating this, and it's really hard because, I was during that strange, confusing time of lockdowns. I just left my work in Asia. So I was, and then alone in this kind of, I was isolating in Brighton here in the UK. And it was almost like this little echo chamber. And I didn't have I couldn't bounce off ideas. So I had to go out and find people who I could trust and understand what I was doing, and I could get feedback. So finding my people in a way, and that was really helpful when I found Vegan Business Tribe, and I could bounce ideas. I also started a Facebook group, and I was asking people, I was sending out information, I was asking about book titles. I've learned so much in this process, and I would say, and not just about publishing, but about myself and some of my own weaknesses, and that's been really interesting. I've always I've never been my own business owner, so this was so important to me to get it right, that sometimes the pressure was so much that I almost became paralyzed. I was almost like the fear of, oh my goodness, I want to do everything to such a high level and perfection that I was likely holding myself back. And I needed people to kind of, give me a little kick. I had this Post-it note in my, right there would make my cereal, my breakfast every morning. And I had it there to look at it. It was like, perfect in action is better than, imperfect action is better than perfect inaction. And I just thought, sit down, start something. Because otherwise it could be overwhelming. And I just said, as soon as you start, whether I was researching or studying my course or writing the book, just get down, just start doing something, and don't let things go. And that would inspire me to sit down in front of my laptop, and often I'd have a Zoom call. I worked with a nutritionist on the second book, and she became such a good friend, this vegan nutritionist. And I would Zoom call her, and she was in Holland. I was sitting in Brighton, and she would just, I don't know, just that little bit of someone who understood what I was going through. She's written books. That would be incredible. So it's quite a lonely thing sometimes, starting your own business. Yeah. Find your people, and don't be scared. What I really wanted to do was learn. And don't be scared. I guess I wanted to get everything so right. That was the pressure that I realized, okay, I just have to do this. I got to get that first book out, and I'm going to learn from that. And I have. And that's why I am now, I'm thinking about redoing the books, as in the covers even, I wasn't necessarily 100%. I've learned so much about what colors kind of the marketplace wants. And I didn't know that. So I kind of want to subtly change things. Some people have written to me saying, well, I really wish you had a little bit more of that in there, or this. And if I've heard that a couple of times, I'm going to incorporate that. And I'm hopeful for November. I'm doing a speaking thing at the Vegan Forum here, and I'm going to relaunch the books with just these little bit extras. So I would say never be afraid to sit down and just do it, because it's almost that trying to get it perfect that it stopped me. So I wanted to get more feedback, find my people, and never be stuck, because that's the worst thing. So I would go out for my walks, my power walks, come back, and just sit down and start writing and doing it. So yeah, I don't know if that's helpful.
It is. I think it's helpful for all of us. We even had a quick comment come in from Dr. Breeze Harper, saying that, she's had that challenge as well, where friends have been telling her, it doesn't need to be perfect, Breeze, just do it. So I think all of us really can struggle with that, because we have a certain standard sometimes in our mind of where we want to produce. And sometimes we have to reevaluate that. We really have to make sure we are moving forward, because our contribution matters. And sometimes if we hold up or something keeps us from, doing what we're doing, we're not helping people in the world. We're not
Mm,
making the impact in the world. And I just think there's so much
absolutely. Yeah.
opportunity for us to even do it in little ways and work our way there. But I just want to say thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for taking the time to kind of give our audience, give our community a little bit of insight into what you were doing, give us a little bit of inspiration, and really inspire us all to be kind of rebel vegans out here in the
Uh,
world. Let me grab the other book too.
oh, thank you.
Um,
No, it's been wonderful to be here. I'm so excited to have met you, and thank you for all the inspiration you've given me in your podcast
Thank
throughout this
you.
journey as well. So, and that it's that meant a lot to me, and to be able to get my voice out now as well and helping me do that, I appreciate it. So, thanks.
Absolutely. It is so great to kind of hear your journey. It's so great to see what you've produced, even with the trilogy, and also to see, what's coming next. So I hope we can not only stay in touch, but I also hope everyone out here who's listening, everyone who is out here, checking out, even if you didn't see and hear all of today's session, please, please, please take a look at the Rebel Vegan Life. Please, follow it's Rebel Vegan Life on social media.
Rebelveganlife.com. Yes,
Yeah,
I'd
dot
love to
com.
hear from
Yeah.
anybody, and I appreciate all the feedback. So please do and come along and say hi. I'm also hopefully going to do a podcast
Ooh,
on vegan coming out stories I've been developing, because I came out as a gay man many, many years ago, and I realized the correlation. Coming out is such a powerful thing to do, and that you don't just come out once, you come out throughout your life. And the same with being a vegan. Every time
yes.
you meet new people, you go to a dinner party, or well, this is who I am.
Yes.
And it's just been a really wonderful. I think it's very inspiring to hear other people's journeys
Absolutely. Absolutely. So keep me
that we can
in
share.
the loop.
Yeah, I
Yes, so we
will.
can share and how
I
everything's going. And also let me know if you need some tips because I will tell
would
you
love
everything we do. I always love letting
that.
everyone know what we do because it's great to share that knowledge and have somebody benefit, from those late nights
Oh,
that I
thank
initially
you.
had.
I would appreciate
But
it.
it's really, really wonderful to have you. I want to just take a minute to thank everyone who's jumped in the middle of their day to watch us live. Or
Mm.
if you're watching this as a replay, please, as always, post your comments. Let us know what you think about these sessions. Let us know if you picked up one of the books as well, because it's just so great to have an opportunity to support other vegans, to support individuals that are making change in the world, and also support people who are following their dreams. For many of us, we
Mm.
have those dreams. So make sure you take Todd's advice today and make sure that you are taking action. You're not letting that kind of perfection keep you from moving forward. And I just want to make sure that everyone is ready for kind of their next change, maybe their next new perspective, and that we all kind of take a little bit of this rebel vegan perspective forward with us today, this week, so that we're all looking at the world a little bit differently and looking at how we can drive more change. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much, Todd.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone
Thanks.
who joined live, and we will see you in our next
Bye-bye.
interview. Bye.
Bye.